what the ponies have been. Right. Whoop. Today's here, there we go. And good morning, one and all. I didn't think we'd make it this morning. There is going to be rain later on, so hopefully, we are going to have dodged all the rain by sneaking ahead early of it. So, like I say, it's destined to rain. Just hopefully, fingers crossed, not yet. Yes, it's a beautiful, as you can see, lovely foggy morning. Hello, good morning to you, Trakai. Good morning to you. But as you can see, it's a lovely foggy morning. I'm going straight into it. You'll be supporting Italy. Well, I won't even be watching it, to be honest. I won't even be watching the football. Anyway, good morning to other people. Good morning, Cal, Cathal, Prinny Bird. I didn't see what the other person is. Sorry, I'm trying to dodge the animal droppings and walk at the same time. But anyway, yes, good morning. And, well, what a week it's been. Because today we're going to talk some serious policy, because there's 3 bills that have started their passage through the House of Parliament this week that are fundamentally going to alter the way Britain operates, probably for the worst. But before we do get into them, good morning one and all. As you know, the kickball game is going to be on. Oh, a Yorkshireman in California. Well, A up and away with you, my friends. Nice to, I'm glad I can show you the somewhat, dismal climes of South Yorkshire. But yes, welcome one and all. Come and sit down. Let's have ourselves a ball. And yes, I do hope you're well today, Catholic, as well. So, we've got some serious issues coming up in this country, and someone's beaten me to the punch of what I was going to say about our current logistics industry. Because we have a serious shortage of HGV drivers. I've already mentioned it this week, in one of my videos, but it doesn't bear thinking about. Oh, you can see the ponies in the background. And they're also mixed in with the cows as well this morning. But yes, good morning. More people joining us. Excellent. Do remember to hit that like button as you are settling yourself in. Oh, good afternoon from Crowban. So, this is one of the things that a lot of people don't really think about when it came to Brexit, because logistics is incredibly important, because it's getting something from, A to B. Simple as. But if there is a problem in that supply chain, it can cause serious problems. I mean, we're still some supply chains are still suffering from the effects of the Suez Canal boat. Or is it the Greensill? Is it Greensill? What's the boat called? The Greensill that got stuck in the Suez? And we just saw how much of a disaster that actually was. Nope. Evergreen, that was it. And this is a twofold problem, because the coronavirus is responsible, as well as Brexit. But the question is how much either are responsible for each of this current situation that logistics companies with shortage of lorry drivers find themselves in. And I think we're going to see an interesting situation, because there's a lot of people out there saying, oh, look at all these jobs that are out there for warehousing, the food sector, and logistics. And they're all saying, oh, this is going to be a fantastic opportunity for people to go out and get jobs, and people will be able to get higher wages. Well, the problem is these industries are having a huge time and a huge problem trying to recruit people. So rather than there be this be a good thing that there's more jobs, I'm worried that we're going to face the reverse problem of that there's going to be too many jobs but not enough workers. And that in itself will also create huge economic problems, because not only are we facing the problems of Brexit in this when it comes to immigration, as I said at the start, there are currently 3 bills that are passing through. Oh wow, thank you very much, David Falconer. I don't think we could bear the English if they won football tomorrow. Yeah, that is true. Like I say, I was live streaming. I was doing my nice Wednesday live stream during when England were playing their last game. So, like I say, I really don't care, to be honest, about this kickball game. So, the biggest problem is that the UK, and again, this is a truth that politicians and prime ministers, even conservative politicians, have actually refused to be engaged with. And that is that the UK, being in the European Union, has benefited massively from freedom of movement. Predominantly because of, first of all, I think that there's a certain attitude that we in the UK take to which Europeans don't take. I mean, you've got to look at, for example, the food service sector, and it's a perfect example of it. If in the UK you were to say that you had a career in the food industry, a lot of people might assume that you were a chef of some sort, or that maybe you were a restaurant owner. And that seems to be it. That's, in the UK, that is like the acceptable level to where, someone can work. But in Europe, there are entire colleges and, university courses dedicated to waitressing, maitre d'ing, all this type of stuff that you do not see, in the UK. And we just don't see it because it's not seen as a desirable job to be in the UK. Now, I don't know if attitudes will change around that. We'll have to see. But again, same for, the lorry driving industry and, warehousing. But warehousing, again, has its own particular problems because, again, I've talked on this channel before about a certain warehouse company called Assos. They basically employ people on a 0-hour contract, and even though, again, according to the government, that these people are, quote, fully hired, they might only work 2 hours a week. So again, according to government figures, these people are employed, but they just do 2 hours a week. Because I think that there is an overemployment problem, and that these companies are using, 0-hour contracts to take advantage of many of the people in those positions. So again, there are multiple problems in different industries. And when we went over the video of what a lot of industry professionals were saying about what was going on, the government's instant solution to all this was, we'll just increase drivers' hours. So essentially, they can go from working 9 hours to 10 hours. How is an extra hour exactly going to help? And like normal, that like a lot of the industry professionals said, this is just a short-term problem to a ridiculous solution. And that's generally the biggest problem, is that our government is consistently thinking about short-term solutions to what are sometimes needed for long-term problems. And if there is a long-term problem, you can't just keep on sticking sellotape over cracks, because sooner or later you've got to spend the money and fill in the crack. If you don't, well, it's just going to become a bigger and bigger problem over time. And your sellotape can only, hide it so much. But this is the problem that our government is actively engaged in. And if you want, again, these 3 examples of the bills that are going through recently. We've got the new National Borders, I think it's, what is it called? The National Borders and Asylum Bill or something like that. I can't remember what its full name is now, but originally it was called the Sovereign Borders Bill. I can tell you that for certain. And coffee in Florida, it's okay if you're English, if England wins. Well, thank you very much. I will certainly go and have a coffee. And I don't know about football, so I don't know if I'm meant to, go to a place somewhere and, maybe dance naked to make sure that England loses. So, So, there is a very serious problem with all of these 3 bills. And not surprisingly, Priti Patel is at least has heavily involvement in 2 of them. And the first bill is meant to target, essentially, criminal gangs involved in human trafficking. Now, while, again, a lofty goal, the way that this is being targeted is not how, it's meant to be. Because here's the thing: these criminal gangs, regardless of this bill, are still going to engage in human trafficking. That's not going to change. All that's going to happen is that now when they catch essentially a lot of these victims of human trafficking, they're essentially going to get sent back to their country of origin, and maybe even just end up returning here because they still owe that criminal gang money. What, again, this needs to be, the actual solution to this problem is that you need to allow for these people to come forward without the fear that they're going to be deported. Let them come forward. Let them take the official route into citizenship, and then you'll be able to break these gangs. Because guess what? To break these gangs properly, you need witnesses. And these people that have been the victims of these criminal trafficking gangs are the perfect witnesses to help break these gangs. So if you genuinely wanted an actual solution to help deal with these criminal gangs, that would be the way forward. But of course, no. What's going to end up happening is that these people are essentially going to be caught and then essentially thrown back to the wolves to who knows what. And morally, that's wrong. We shouldn't stand for that type of thing. We should be helping victims of crime, not, not just throwing them to the wolves. And then the other part of this bill, and oh boy, the other part of this bill, which is going to, I can already see the headlines in like a couple of years' time, is that essentially there is going to be now offshore processing locations. So they're talking about using disused ferries, abandoned oil rigs, and even one of the Ascension Islands, which is about 1,400 miles off the coast of Brazil, right smack dab in the middle of the Atlantic. Now, at any time in the UK, there are roughly about, again, I don't know the official figures, but I'd reckon there's probably about a couple of 100,000 people looking for asylum. And very often, what a lot of people forget is, if you remember during the days of when Bosnia was going on, we had a lot of Bosnian refugees come to the UK, and the exact same stories were playing out. The exact same stuff that we saw back then is playing out again. But what happened? When the situation in Bosnia started to, calm down and, peace started to return to the country, guess what? 99.9% of all those refugees returned to their home country. Because again, they're only here. Yeah, call them what they are. Yeah, true. They are gulags, but that's what they'll turn into. Let's not, mince words. They will turn into gulags, because essentially, to do this, the government is going to have to actively spend money. Oh, and thank you for the support, by the way, Paz News. Thank you very much for that. The government is actually going to have to actively spend money to first get them there, then transport them off the island, and then actually run the facilities, over which there could at least be maybe more than 1,000 plus people there at any time. And of course, one of the big things about trying to push this offshore is that Priti Patel has constantly, in very, very stupid rhetoric, talked about lefty immigration lawyers, causing problems and being the enemy. And of course, as we reported, just was it at the end of last year, there was a law firm that was attacked. A guy came in and attacked the law firm and accused them of being traitors to the country. Now, luckily, no one was hurt. But it just goes to show you that politicians need to really be careful about the language they use. But of course, this is Priti Patel. Of course, she doesn't have a sensible bone in her body. But these places, like I say, they're going to cost money. And the government, I don't think, is going to want to send the necessary money to actually fund these places. And I can already see the headlines now. And as I said before, I'll put in a call to my future self to receive a call about how bad these places are. And again, the reason why they're being offshore is to stop, immigration lawyers, coming to help these asylum seekers. That is the main purpose of offshoring. I mean, it's simply the most inhuman way to deal with a situation and to deal with people who need the most help at such a short time. And I genuinely cannot believe that we are engaging in this action. It boggles belief. But that's just the first. That's just the first of these 3 bills. Because the next bill is the Policing, Crime and Sentencing bill. If I remember correctly. And this bill, well, essentially it gives police powers that A, they haven't asked for, B, the police have come out and said, yeah, we don't really want these powers because we already have sufficient powers to be able to deal with the problems that you say there are. Again, like I say, I think the Tories are preparing, just like Margaret Thatcher did, for mass protests against them. And I think that's what they are actively trying to engage in with this police bill. Now, one of the big things that's going to be very interesting is if these laws will be challenged, because a lot of people have said that there is some small legal precedent to be able to challenge them. Again, we'll have to wait and see. But, ta-da! So this tiny foal here is probably about a week or two away, maybe like about a week. He was born last week. Of course, we didn't get to see him last week because of the rain. There we go. But yeah, expect there to be more fun and games this week, because the immigration bill that we talked about to begin with is starting its passage through Parliament this, I think, Wednesday. I want to say it started on. The crime and policing bill had a vote on Monday. I think it was one of its first votes, and of course Labour and the Lib Dems have tried to move against it, but again, because of the majority of Boris Johnson, the Conservatives, there's not a lot that they could do against it, unfortunately. And like I say, this is, especially these two bills combined. I mean, going back to the immigration bill, one of the worrying things that I can't remember which organisation said it. I want to say it's Amnesty International, but I don't think it might have been them. I think it might have been another or similar organisation. Has already said that this type of bill can lead to more racism in a country. Again, I think that's, like I say, I can already picture the headlines in the future that these centres are going to become, you know, human rights violations. I can already see, you know, I can already see the headlines. But the crime and sentencing and police bill, again, I think it's the Tories at this point deliberately and preemptively, I think, gearing up for a fight. Because back in the days of old Maggie T decided that she's going to vastly increase the numbers and size of the police force, and she was right to do so, because, well, in her mind at least, because she would need those numbers to help fight off the miners, and of course the other various numbers of protests that happened towards the end of you know, Margaret Thatcher's tenure, poll tax riots, you name it, you know. So in my mind, I think this is the Conservatives trying to prevent what I think is going to be a serious wave of mass protest against them. And I've said before, we need to watch very closely what happened in Cheshire and Amersham, because the idea that you know, the blue wall, as it's called, can be taken down, I think becomes somewhat more interesting now. There's a bigger interesting proposition here that could happen. And as I said before, if Boris ends up losing both the red and, quote, the blue wall in all those seats that he got, then there's a big possibility that in 3 years' time we'll be in a hung parliament situation, which again I think could use some very interesting outcomes. But again, it could be very, very interesting. So like I say, the crime and policing bill is just not needed at the end of the day. You know, the police have even said, why are you giving us these powers? We've already got sufficient powers, you know, to at least stop protesters, you know, causing annoyance. And, you know, we already have those powers. So why are you giving us more? Again, like I say, it's going to be very interesting, because I think a lot of these, essentially the crime and policing bill, and parts of it are certainly going to be challenged in law. There's obviously, that is going to be the first one to hit the House of Lords as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the Lords react to it. They might boot it back, so it might not even go through at all. As I've said before, I don't necessarily like the House of Lords, but I'll tell you what, I'm glad we've got it at least sometimes. I'm glad that at least sometimes we have it. So, going forward, as I always say in this time, always do remember, write to your MP, even if they're a Conservative, write to them. And if there's any other people in your area that are also annoyed about these bills, get them to write to them as well. Again, letter writing campaigns do have an effect. It's as someone I heard someone say this week, there's a lot of people, I think, who live in the UK who think that they live in a democracy about once every 4 to 5 years. I think that becomes a significant problem. Oh, thank you very much, T-Side. With the hung parliament, it's either Lib Dems or SNP. No good choice for Labour, either right-wing politicians or Scottish independents. That is true, but I think if Labour can actually offer a significant enough policies for change, then I don't think Scottish independence is going to be an issue. I really don't. I think that if we can get proportional representation in, I think that if we can get that in, that will make a huge change to how this country is governed. Even if we can get it into the House of Lords and get the House of Lords then to be an elected body, elected by proportional representation, that will still make a significant change to how this country is run. Because even then, if electing MPs to the House of Lords remains in a first past the post situation, you've still got the House of Lords that has been elected by again, proportional representation, that even if we went off the results of the last election, both the Lib Dems and the Tories would be in a strong enough position to block any bills like the crime and policing bill at that stage. And they would be able to, for example, be able to remove certain parts of that bill that, again, no one likes, and then bat it back to the Commons and just say, we ain't going to let this bill pass with these provisions in. So I've always said, when it comes to getting PR, getting it into how we elect MPs would be great and fantastic, but should we be focusing on the House of Lords first and changing that first? I've always said that to, a lot of people, is changing the House of Lords first going to be more practical and more accessible and a far more better fight? Because a lot of people out there, even on the right wing, agree that the House of Lords needs to be reformed. So there's a big chance that we could build a bigger coalition, and then once we've got the House of Lords reformed, then we can go after the House of Commons. Again, it's a possibility, but we'll just have to wait and see. Like I say, currently the push for PR and proportional representation in this country is getting stronger. There are also calls for, again, more devolution. So I think that the idea of pushing for that would make it a lot better. Like I say, Yorkshire currently has 3 metro mayors of, was it, well, not South, but West Yorkshire just been elected, North Yorkshire and East Yorkshire. Currently, though, Dan Jarvis, even though he was elected as the mayor for the South Yorkshire, does not have the powers that Woodwan have. Or, again, he would have to give up his seat in Barnsley, causing another by-election. So it's very, very interesting to certainly go forward and see how, again, this changes the dynamic, how much that would change. And I think that changing our voting system is something well worth fighting for, and well worth reminding people that the AV referendum that we had, oh hang on, you'll have to excuse me because I've just noticed my chat hasn't been following on. I thought I'd been missing you all there. I said, where are you all? Good morning from Jutland in Denmark. Good morning to you. So, those are at least 2 of the bills that we have to worry about that are going to go through, because there's no doubt they are going to go through the House of Commons. Question mark still on the House of Lords. But again, we're still going to have to see. We're still going to have to see, potentially what happens. And like I say, if things do get really bad here, then I'm just going to move to Ireland. Because I'll tell you now, I ain't moving to Scotland. As much as I like Scotland, again, I'm going to annoy a lot of SNP and independent supporters on here. I don't think Scotland's independent future economically is as viable as they like to say and claim it is. I'm sorry, but that's the case. And I do not like the fact that a lot of independent supporters like to lie and tell porkies about that, because I sat an entire referendum for saying to people that, this side is telling lies. I don't like it, even if Scotland wants to go independent, because I think that's going to upset a lot of people when they realise that they voted for independence and things don't work quite as well as they initially hoped for. Like I say, Scotland will be, an independent country, but economically, I'm just going to say it now. You cannot have a country based entirely on the exports of whiskey. And like I say, NatWest did a financial examination of an independent from Scotland back in 2015, which did not look good. And of course, we've just had one very recently, if not 2 or 3 months ago, from the World Monetary Organization. By the way, I want to point out, asked for by the National of Scotland, one of the Scotland's pro-independence newspapers, came out and said, yeah, we don't think it's going to be that good. Like I say, if anyone ever wants to have a Wednesday chat with me, and we'll go over like these figures and these reports, and you want to take the pro-independence side, I'm more than happy to. But like I say, I've never said Scotland shouldn't have another pro-independence referendum. By all means, crack on. But But I think that there's a lot of, if you're going to go independence, then you've got to tell people the truth. Clearly, a lot of English people are scared to lose Scotland. No, not really. Like I say, I don't really care if Scotland goes independence. Like I say, Scotland is actually a massive drain on the UK. It spends more in its tax than it actually takes in, and again, takes a lot of money from, again, the UK, and doesn't really spend it, shall we say, as effectively. Again, doesn't really go that well. Like I say, by all means, crack on. And like I say, if anyone does, we'll have on my Wednesday live stream. If you want to come on and you want to try and change my mind, then by all means, get in contact with me. And like I say, we'll have that chat. Like I say, I am open to my mind being changed, but the oil fields, the oil argument. Okay, I've just seen that there. Probably the biggest lie that I've seen purported. Again, if the Scottish oil fields are as good and as rich as they are going to be, why then have they caused so much unemployment in Aberdeen? Why then have the money that they have gotten over the years been increasingly decreasing? And why, for example, is Norway, that has an oil industry that is 2 times smaller than that of Scotland, have twice the income of that of Scotland? Again, I think that if you are seriously wanting to have this debate, like I say, I'm more than happy. If someone wants to come on Wednesday, like I say, get in contact with me. By all means, we'll have this discussion. Like I say, I'm more than happy to have this debate. But a lot of people are instantly going to say, well, you're against. No, I'm not. By all means, have it, crack on. But I think there's going to be a lot of people, when it does happen, that are going to be very disappointed about it. And I think that I've seen, shall we say, the SNP themselves aren't that really good at governing as they like to claim. And I think, so again, I know that seems like I'm Scottish bashing, but I'm like, this is the evidence that I've seen. This is the evidence that I've read. I've gone out of my way to read. And I have people that I do know in both in Edinburgh and Aberdeen that tell me all this stuff. So I'm like, by all means, like I say, if you want to have that conversation, you want to come on Wednesday's live stream, by all means, get in contact with me. I do have a Twitter, so follow me, let me know, and we'll have this discussion. Like I say, I'm more than happy to have it. Just, let me know. And we'll have it. Like I say, I'm not against, I'm not against Scotland being independent. I just think that the actual truth of shall we say, an independent Scotland is not as rosy as a lot of people want to think it is, or at least claim it's going to be. Like I say, we've had, again, which you'll notice they've dropped. Well, no, we'll forget it. We'll leave it. We'll leave it till Wednesday. We'll leave it till Wednesday. So I'm sure I'll get bombarded. I don't know. No one might contact me. Like I say, that Brexiteer never contacted me about that debate, so I don't know. But we'll see. But yes, we are steadily progressing. So, like I say, we are halfway around now, so I will do a bit of selfless promotion. Like I say, please do remember to hit that like button and the share button as well. It does help out the channel. And of course, thank you very much to all the people who do support me through Patreon or buy me a coffee every so often. Like I say, thank you very much to all those people. Like I say, links for those are down below. And of course, the YouTube memberships are open as well. It's a story, Bull Hatman, independence and hope over fear and subjugation every time. I don't think it's necessarily comes down to to being subjugated. Like I say, technically, someone who lives in Scotland has far more democratic opportunities than I do because they've got their own parliament. But again, if Scotland having, well, its own, democracy and is meant to be all that good, then why are the SNP screwing up education so much? Again, I don't know. I can't help myself. It's like a pastime, annoying the SNP supporters. But like I say, I'm not against the idea of independence. By all means, have it, do it, and then prove me wrong. But I'll tell you now, if you do achieve independence and economically things in Scotland start to deteriorate, as again a lot of financial experts have said, a lot of trade experts have said and warned against it, I will do those stories, and then when you're all saying that this is bad or it's the fault of the UK somehow, or England somehow, like I say, don't come crying to me because you're not a part of not a part of this country anymore. Like I say, it's your own independent country now, so you're free to do what you want to do. Like I say, my escape option has always been Ireland, so that's not going to change. But again, I do have Scottish ancestry, so I might be able to claim at least maybe a Scottish passport in the future. So anyway, the last bill that we have to talk about is election reform. Because I've said before, Boris has his eye on wanting to reform the electoral system for, well, a while now. And it has been said a number of times that Boris wants to get rid of the Fixed Term Parliament Act so that he can hold early elections. And the early elections are going to be very problematic because obviously we saw the vaccine bounce. Now, what would have happened, of course, if Boris Johnson had the power to call an early election during that time of a vaccine bounce? It would have been, absolute, a complete whitewash of an election. I think he would have kept his majority, maybe even managed to take a few more seats here and there. Like I say, I think the vaccine bounce and him, if he had called that away, he might have been able to do that. So one of, if not the many things that he's trying to get rid of, is the Fixed Term Parliament Act. We've also got the election bill, which is the one that is going through currently at the moment. Now, the first part of it, I'm like, okay, that's sort of quite nice, because it essentially takes away that if you're still a British expat and you haven't been living in the country for 15 years, you essentially lose the right to vote in British elections. That's the first thing it gets rid of. And to that point, I'm like, well, that part I'm not really too fussed about, because as long as you're a British expat living abroad and you haven't taken, that nationality of that country that you're living in yet, well, okay, fine. Have at it. But when you reminded of the fact that lots of people like to, shall we say, use this term because they have the money to do so, then you realize that removing this rule, first of all, only really benefits very rich people, because only very rich people can actually genuinely afford to at least live that long outside of the UK, while at least maintaining their British citizenship. Now, even though I am not, again, I am in sort of favour of that, because again, that benefits other people. For example, during the referendum, there were hundreds of thousands of British citizens living in the EU that could have had a vote in the referendum that maybe could have swung things in another way. Who knows? Like I say, dare to dream, as they say. That could have maybe swung things in the other way. So I do think that there is very, very, very much a significant groundswell of support. But, and there is a big but in this bill, the other part of the bill, which is the problem. This is where this bill becomes a problem. Because now, as we said before, most of it is going to benefit very rich citizens of the UK. But this is where this problem with the bill comes in. A big part of this bill essentially enables people who have lived longer outside the UK for 15 years, but still retain British citizenship, can now also donate to the Tory party, which essentially now enables the Tory party to reap huge not economical benefits, but huge electoral benefits and financial benefits when it comes to elections or lobbying said now UK Parliament. So this is where, again, this bill really comes in, and you can now really see this is where this bill causes the problems, in that it is going to be a very, 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 very obvious play to help foreign Tory, not foreign Tory donors, but the very rich Tory donors who, shall we say, like to live outside of this country. And this is one of the things that I've said before. We need to get rid of the non-dom rules and change that for the tax code, because then we're serious about obtaining some serious economic moolah from these people. And I think it will definitely be good if we could actually effect that change. But one of the big increases that we see, of course, is that this will significantly benefit the Tories. And like I say, there's nothing really we can't do against it, unless it gets to the House of Lords and the House of Lords say, well, no, we're not going to allow that. It's going to be a very, very significant problem in the long run, definitely. But it's probably going to pass. I think it will be an absolutely killer blow for Labour because, again, we've already seen how much, shall we say, outward corruption that the Tories have been engaging in now. And now soon, I can almost guarantee, we'll be seeing, shall we say, UK taxpayer money going into, foreign hands that have, connections to Tory donors who have now donated vast sums to the Tory party, who now live outside the UK. So ultimately, as I've said before, there is a massive opportunity for Keir Starmer and Labour to really push for some serious anti-corruption laws and to really force through some new laws that would punish a lot of these actions that the Tories have been taking over the past year. I think that would make huge significant wins for the, Conservative Party. But again, we'll have to see. Like I say, it's begun its passage through the House. And so long as Starmer can use that against the Tories, because again, it's a huge, ammunition for him to fire off against the Tories. But we just have to be able now to strike some significant enough blows against them to do it. I mean, the other thing is we've got, of course, is that we're coming out of lockdown, which is going to, I think, once again end in disaster. Like I say, I think the Johnson variant is going to cause some significant damage. But before we get on to talking about that, because I'm like everyone else, I've had enough of this COVID nonsense and lockdown. But the problem is that it is being extended unnecessarily by the choices of an absolutely incompetent Tory government. And the fact that Sajid Javid has now taken over from Matt Hancock, he's not going to help things. It's not going to help things at all. It's probably just going to be as bad, if not worse. We're probably going to see at least more public money handed out to COVID contracts. We're in a significant, very, very bad period of UK history. And I've said before, 2022 is not going to be good. Like 2022 for a lot of people is not going to be good because I've said before, we're going to be hit by the ABCs: austerity, Brexit, and COVID. And of course, we've got a potential upcoming trade war with the EU because Boris, for some bizarre reason, has issued a threat to the EU that if they don't deliver changes to the Northern Ireland Protocol, then, quote, the UK, but might as well be at this point, is going to take action. So, and I've said this before, there's part of me that thinks this is just a massive piece of kabuki theatre. That this is going to be very well played. Oh, there's someone donated and I haven't seen. I don't know. But I think this could be just a massive piece of should we say, playing to his home crowd, just to make, you know, Boris look tough. Because we saw in this, in the debacle that was the Norway trade deal, Norway came out and said that the UK wasn't prepared to talk to the EU about anything until 2022. So that could be a very, very significant ploy. But again, we'll have to see. Like I say, apparently these proposals of what England, well, the UK wants to change is going ahead shortly before the MPs leave for summer recess on the 22nd of this month. So we'll have to see what obviously gets put out, of course. But as usual, we're going to have to wait and see, unfortunately. And that's the worst part, because I've said this, I don't know how many times before, when we've talked about these absolutely diabolical Brexit negotiations. We'll just have to say, well, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. Because we're going to have to wait and see if Johnson is actually serious about these demands, or whether it is just, again, some nice shadow puppetry and, you know, playing for the fans at home. So we're going to have to, unfortunately, wait and see. And that's the worst part of it. But that's one of the worst parts, I think, of all this, just having to wait and see, and like the dread of waiting. So I think that's far, far worse sometimes than actually the news that gets delivered. Because when the news gets delivered, you can at least go, well, okay, now we have to wait and see what happens. It's like, oh. Oh. I've got some more ponies for you. Oh, hang on to it, we'll do. Flip it around. Flip. Flip. Come on. There we go. Hey! Ta-da! Of course, these are all your soon-to-be unicorns. Oh. Having a stretch. Oh no, getting up. I think they're in the process of cleaning each other. There we go. There you go. You've had maximum ponyage today. Like I said, I know why you're all here. I know you're here for the ponies. You can't deny it. Oh. But yeah, I think those three bills that we've talked about today are going to significantly affect the UK. Significantly affect the UK. Anyway, yeah, it's been quite an interesting week in Parliament, like I say, with those three bills going through. Ultimately, I think there is a very significant chance of all three bills passing through the House of Commons, but at the moment, the House of Lords, we don't know. The House of Lords might surprise us and block some of those, or at least send them back to the House with amendments of their own. Like I say, we don't know. We're going to have to sit and wait and see, which again, sometimes in politics is sometimes the worst thing. You have to wait and see how stuff lands. But anyway, yes, it's been nice. It's starting to rain now. It's just starting to rain a bit now. Starting to a bit drizzly. But yes, it's been an absolutely fantastic weekend. And again, fantastic for having Wall joining me. As always fun to see and get so many people in or chat. It's always good to get everyone in. Like I say, thank you everyone for joining me today. Like I say, I feel like I planned to talk about those three bills. So I'm like, maybe we should have planned something extra as well, because I thought that would have sufficed us all. But yes, we are, even though you can't really see, we are at the end of today's walk. So yes, please do remember to hit that like button. And also remember to press the share button as well. Like I say, that does help out the channel. Like I say, there are links down below to my Patreon page, as well as one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee. And as always, thank you everyone for watching. It's been absolutely fantastic as always. Do keep out an eye for more videos coming out this week as well. And of course, we're having another Wednesday live stream on Wednesday. I don't know what our topic is going to be, but I don't know. I'm sure I'm going to get back now, and a lot of people have contacted me. But anyway, so thank you as well as always. Have an absolutely fantastic weekend. As always, if you can't be safe, be sensible at least. And we'll see you next Saturday for another Good Morning Walk.